what's going on right now. But I think the part that is the religious authorities, isn't it interesting that the religious authorities were, when you see that, what do you think? What hits you? Bob? You're thinking. Gotta get you. Rich?
Religious is a fact. I was reading in something else the other day. Some of you may be familiar with the author Karen Armstrong. Mm-hmm. She's written a lot on God. Anyway, she has this thing on history, particularly back in the medieval age and later. And I knew this, but I never thought as deeply about it. That what the religious authorities would do was a little bit hypocritical. They would judge somebody, but they didn't want to be burdened with the guilt of actual execution. So the persons were turned over to the civil authorities. And this is exactly what happened to Jesus. The religious authorities turned him over to the Roman authorities for the actual punishment and execution. And the religious authorities could say, "Hey, we're kind of innocent in this," but that's sort of been history at times. Now, fortunately, we've moved away from that, but there has been different times in history that there was a pattern for religious authorities to send people off who were judged to be heretics or whatever, off to the civil authorities to die on the cross or burned at the stake or whatever.
Richard?
I think they wanted to maintain the status quo. They didn't want to upset their authority, power, and control over the Jewish people because they were power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's almost the way the situation was, and here you have Jesus rebuking all this, telling them to get back to the basics.
Jesus was probably one of the first progressives. He wanted things to change. He wanted things to move on and keep away from the status quo that you talked about.
This seeing the need is very interesting today. Talking about an Indian chief who thought he was, who had been soured by his power, evidently thought he was the greatest person in the world. And an old woman proved to him that he needed to serve the baby when it cried, even he, and then concludes that this is how the Creator planned it. He did not make you so great that you could boast about it. The Creator made you great so that you could help others who are not as strong as you. And I think maybe that's the crux of what we're studying.
I think that's the essence. I really do. I think that's the essence.
Charles, one of the things there's so often I make a vow I'm not going to talk too much during class.
Forget that.
But this is so important. Even though I said all of that, which I did say, I would like to emphasize that the overwhelming amount of Christian history, you know, the Christian church comes off as pretty good and instrumental in doing away with slavery, instrumental in doing away with child labor, instrumental in doing all kinds of good things, building hospitals, schools, whatever. So even though I said that about religious authorities, this is not our religious authorities. The overwhelming example of the Christian faith. And somehow you'll see on the outside or even comments in the newspaper about the letter writers that, you know, that the religion, you know, makes people suffer, and that's, yeah, in some instances, yes, but the overwhelming has been all to the good. So I just want to say that, with that, I quit.
But you know, you do add to our lessons. Yes. It's too bad that you're muffling yourself, because you add so much to the lessons, you know so much.
You're too kind.
No?
No.
I mean it.
You're, she's right.
All in favor, say.
Okay, that's over with. All right, I did a little business meeting there. Yeah. Okay, I got it. That can't. He said it was all right for me to do that. Are we living in a world in which Christ proclaimed, the greatest are the most humble? And it's interesting, and I don't know where to go in, but you can't help but watching television in the last 18, 20 days to see what's going on right now. And you just can't ignore that. It's an interest. We've lived in a very, very interesting time. We really have. We've lived in a very interesting time. Any comments regarding that? And in this class, there are so many people who do so many nice things for so many people in this classroom. And I don't ignore either one of them. And I'm going to just go one step further just because I'd really like to bring this up for a moment. As you know, I lost my wife. But over in here, right in there, yeah, right over there.
You've lost another one, Charles.
And knitted this little shawl. And Shirley just hung on to that like mad. And that's just some little things that a lot of people do. But Shirley hung on that shawl like you would not believe. And she didn't have to do that. She didn't have to do it. But that was one of the things that happened out of this class. But there's some other, lots of other things. But that was some of the thing that, one thing that happened. And I never have I ever thanked you?
1,000 times.
So anyway, living the faith, and that's what we're talking about. Living the faith. Any other comments you have? I've made some comments. I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you take care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Isn't that about say it all? Cliff, didn't you used to visit people in the prison?
Yes.
What was that like for you? What was that like?
I was always glad to get out.
I can believe that.
Wasn't it Doris and who else? There were a bunch of you, right? Doris Sprecher went with you for a while.
Not with him, she went to the women's thing.
I visited a couple of young boys who were